Now that you understand that you are going to have to learn Chinese characters, and that in fact is the best way for an adult to learn Chinese, the logical next question is, do I need to learn to handwrite with a pen or even a brush the Chinese characters? The short answer to this is no, but this is a controversial answer. Think briefly how often you handwrite in English or your native language, whatever it is. Chances are not that often, generally for noting things down, making a quick list of things to do for the day, maybe a birthday card or a get well soon card. But the vast majority of the time we communicate through the written word on our telephones or on computers, and this is exactly the same in China. The vast majority of everyday written Chinese is now typed. The good news is that typing in Chinese is actually very easy. If you haven't done it before, basically you type the Pinyin and your computer or your telephone will predict what you're trying to write. 90% of the time it will guess correctly, and you simply need to choose the correct character from a selection that you are presented with. This requires a few skills. You need to know the pronunciation, i.e. the Pinyin, so that you can type it. The second skill you need to have is to be able to recognize the characters that are presented by your telephone or your computer. One skill that you don't necessarily need is the ability to perfectly reproduce each character by hand, as if you were handwriting. The 10% of the time when your phone doesn't suggest the correct characters is generally because the character is too uncommon to be an automatic suggestion. In this case, you may need to use your finger to trace out the character on the screen. Even in this case though, the technology is very forgiving. As long as the end result is roughly similar, regardless of your style or your stroke order, you'll be shown the right characters. There's actually a phenomenon called 提笔忘字, which roughly translates as pick up pen, forget the character. It even has a Wikipedia entry if you look in the links below. A lot of young people nowadays are forgetting how to actually write characters, which is a cause for concern in China. This isn't to say that you shouldn't learn to write by hand. I simply want to point out that if you don't learn the skill, or at least rely mainly on typing, then you're in good company, even with native Chinese speakers. The big exception to this is early on in your learning. Early on, I think you should be practicing handwriting. This is to help your brain get used to the structure of characters and the stroke order and the types of components that are available in Chinese. This is just a way of rounding out your learning so that you're not only hearing but you're seeing, and you're also reproducing by hand. It's very much more physical and it's a good way to learn. Later, this will help with recognition, which is a key skill for typing, which you'll be using for most of your day-to-day correspondence in Chinese. By all means, continue to write by hand after this early learning period if you enjoy it. Chinese characters are immaculately beautiful, and writing them feels almost magical at times. If you want to continue writing by hand, then do so. Just be aware that it's no longer as necessary as it used to be even 5-10 years ago.